So in the first unit, you remember, we forgot to discuss about sustainable development goals. Okay, this was actually aligned to the theoretical framework which we discussed in the first few classes. So we'll be discussing a bit about sustainable development goal, which were initially known as Millennium Development Goal. Okay, so certain principalities are attached to sustainable development goal. So what are those principalities which we attach to sustainable development goals? What are sustainable development goals? When it was first adopted by UN General Assembly, and when it came into effect, what is the origin of sustainable development goal, are important to understand. So when you say sustainable development goals, these are some interconnected goals to reduce poverty, inequality, hunger in the society, and to meet the basic needs without exhausting the resources for future generation. So that's how we understand that some of the interconnected goals which can be applicable universally, which are meant to protect the poor, marginalized section and vulnerable sections, and which also involve multiple stakeholders. So in the definition itself, we get to see the very principalities involved in execution of sustainable development goal, as these goals are interconnected. So if you achieve one goal, it will have an impact on the other set of goals. Right, so we have 17 sustainable development goals. Prior to sustainable development goal, we have millennium development goal. And in millennium development goal, we actually get to see there is also focus. Focus is similar, but the period to achieve that goal was different. Right. So on the basis of, you see, Rio Summit on 1990 level of discussion, some Millennium Development goals were adopted, and target area was 2050, which was later changed to Sustainable Development Goal after Johannesburg Declaration. So, which is important. Johannesburg Declaration is important, and also Rutland Commission report, which is the very basis of those Millennium Development Goal and Sustainable Development Goal, which was adopted in 1987. That was actually the origin to reduce the hunger across the world, to reduce the poverty across the world, to reduce inequalities and discriminations and deprivation across the world, to take certain action for climate effective change, and also for the protection of biodiversity, protection of species, etc., etc. So those goals were envisaged during 1987, and those were adopted first in 2000, and then we actually find that when Sustainable Development Goal was adopted, so the fulfillment and achievement timeline has been extended. So it was made up to 2030. So we get to find the universal applicability of the goal, that is the first very principle, and these are interconnected, as I have already told you. First, it involved not only the government but also the civil society organizations, various institutions, various NGOs. Collectively, they can deal with fulfilling the goals, achieving the goals. Okay, and then we see that these are basically meant to give a effective cover and also protective cover, and also custody to the vulnerable and marginalized section of the people. So these are the four set of principalities which are attached to sustainable development goal. Then we see that India has ranked, recent ranking you need to find out, but uh, perhaps we have ranked 99. But the recent might be different. So you need to scroll it, Google it. Recent ranking of India in terms of achieving and accomplishing the Sustainable Development Goal. Okay, and then what is important is the scale of measurement. There is also a 0 to 100 measurement from which we can measure those goals. Okay, so higher the measurement, okay, so we can actually see that we have achieved it. Suppose most of the European countries like Finland, Sweden, Denmark are the top like 20 countries which have achieved the sustainable development goal. But in terms of India, we are yet to achieve that, like that accomplishment because of like various issues, and most of the developing countries have been suffering from the pandemic. Pandemic happened to be one issue because of which we get to see disruption in the accomplishment of goal. That is also one reason due to global crisis. You see the crisis in Ukraine, Gaza, and in different parts there are also long-term crisis, short-term crisis, which has also implicated the effective implementation of sustainable development goal. And now you actually see the all developing nations which have actually developing nations. When we talk about developing nations, they are actually running. They actually look for they are looking for around 6 trillion dollar to achieve the sustainable development goal. So there is actually a crisis situation which is going on, and under this crisis situation we can't think of achieving sustainability. So when we talk about the goal, the very first goal is reduction of poverty. There are certain scheme attached to it, but when you talk about the poverty, poverty basically an issue related to development, and so many issues are also overlapping with poverty. When we talk about the poverty, we actually see there is not a universal definition of poverty. We can actually identify poverty in terms of uh, deprivation, social inequality, and also low subsistence level. So these are some of the benchmark to identify poverty. When we talk about the subsistence level, that means the adequate resources that you could have to sustain yourself. If you lack that adequate resources to sustain yourself, you are poor. That's how we identify the subsistence level. So the importance of adequate resources to subsist ourselves, to sustain ourselves. Then we talk about the inequality. When you say inequality, inequality is also another. Okay, this is not externally induced. Why? Why does it happen? No idea. No? So inequality is one thing. When actually get to see that there is not fair distribution. When there is no fair distribution of resources, okay, that is also related to poverty. So first, lack of subsistence resources is one cause of poverty. Second is lack of fair distribution of resources, because when you talk about distributing agencies, we actually have the PDS, public distribution system, in terms of food grains and all, right? We also have different institutions which will distribute the benefits, okay, which will distribute the benefits, distribute the schemes, distribute the you see scholarship, distribute the goods to us. And when there is no fair distribution, we get to fall back, right? So that is another criteria to understand poverty. And then third is the externality. Externality is the consequence of that subsistence as well as inequality into the other areas of allied areas of life. Okay, just because we do not have adequate resources to subsist ourselves and sustain ourselves, to have a dignified and stable life, just because we are also a victim of unfair distribution of goods and resources. So the effects of it also getting seen or got to be seen in various other like even areas of our life, okay, where like in the human development is possible. Then we talk about the physiological need. So when we talk about physiological need, this is also related to subsistence. Poverty can be defined through these three criteria. So physiological need is also related to our subsistence related resources, your physiological need for shelter, so need for food, drinking water. These are physiological need. Okay, when you do not have that physiological need met, you are poor. That's how we define. Apart from it, we also have different set of needs. Need for like self-actualization. These are higher order needs. So we talk about self-actualization, self-esteem, affiliation. This comes under after the basic needs are being made. So reduction of poverty is not only a basic need approach, it is also basic need approach required, but also require a right based approach. So we in India, we get to find that there are institutions, different schemes are there through which we try to alleviate poverty to an extent with the help of that right based approach, like MG and Rega. So Manrega, we also say, that is a kind of scheme which will help to build productive asset among the poor, right? And also give them employment to the people. So it's a kind of right-based approach to eradicate and alleviate poverty. Okay. Then it is also, we also need a need-based approach. When you talk about a need-based approach, on the basis of uh, identification of poorer household or identification of BPL, identification of the marker, you can give them some benefit. That is basically a basic need approach. It is not about creating beneficiaries here. It is about giving benefits on the basis of identification of needs. And then on the basis of right, people can take part in any program which will give them that necessary uh, resources to fulfill their subsistence level. Okay, that is a right based program. And need based program will give you some kind of welfare services to meet the basic needs. Like you talk about national food security program, we talk about Poshan Mission is another food security program. We talked about Antodaya Yojana earlier. We had that Antodaya Yojana, identification of poor household and distribute food grains up to 25 kg per month. And also you see that 5 kg rice at rupees 3, that 5 kg wheat at rupees 2, like that way, and also 5 kg millet at rupees 1. This is a kind of Antodaya Yojana, which is a kind of basic need-based approach to eradicate the poverty. Okay, so no poverty is the first sustainable development goal. Okay, so we have also numerous schemes to eradicate poverty. Okay, and along with poverty, the second sustainable development goal is hunger. Okay, so we have also defined poverty in terms of hunger. So we have defined poverty in terms of hunger also, because you see The people who do not consume 2400 intake calorie can be poor, right? That's how we also define. If people in rural area cannot consume 2400 calorie per day will be termed as a poor, and people in urban India cannot consume 2100 uh, calorie per day will be considered as a poor, and that is related to hunger. And to meet the hunger and to create a hunger-free India, so we also had Antyodaya scheme earlier. Okay, so we see that apart from this understanding of, you might say, subsistence, increasing the subsistence level, increasing adequate resources to meet the subsistence need, then you talk about removing these inequalities and also egalitarian system in terms of distributing income, which is actually not that possible. So in terms of creating an egalitarian system, but definitely we have certain schemes in terms of you see, providing wage as per the work, okay, that requisite an adequate wage um, as per the work which is being done. And also there are other criteria related to self-employment. There is a provision of self-employment which is also another important. Rehabilitation of SC/ST, that is also another important criteria which have been uh, like included in 20-point program. Now you see, during Indira Gandhi's time, we had a 20-point program which was emphasized upon in 1967. So in that 20-point program, we get to find that there are 20 goals which are supposed to be met, and that was discontinued. That program later on discontinued after Janta government came to power. That program discontinued. So those 20-point programs are essential to understand the effort of the government to eradicate the poverty. That was the first effort of the government, along with nationalization of the key industries during that time. Most of the industries were also nationalized during Indira Gandhi's government. And you see this 20-point program, then you actually find that in that program you find this rehabilitation of SC/ST, which is another important goal. You talked about providing land to landless is very important goal. Provide land to landless. Then irrigation was another important goal, increasing the irrigation facilities. And also technology transfer to the poor is another important point among the 20 points. Apart from, you see, distribution of food grains, that is strengthening the PDS, public distribution system, which is very important. So there are a lot of, like, corruption in public distribution system nowadays, so strengthening it, and also having regular audit of that public, like, distribution system. And even in the schemes, regular audit, citizen audit, a social audit, to maintain the transparency and accountability is also important. Then what is important is what was there in that 20-point criteria is also, like, wage, that is a fair wage for fair work, amount of work, that was also highlighted. And we also see housing is another important, like, criteria to also alleviate the poverty. And in terms of housing, we also get to find that there are some emancipatory type of family values and also familistic type of family values when the housing scheme is being taken into considerations. So at personal level, many a time we see we build a house, so thinking about the family, and especially those who are infirm, who are unemployed, who are old age, so that we can keep them in safer custody. And especially those who are employed also, they are thinking to build a house to give them shelter, especially those who are unemployed, especially those who are infirm, those who are, like, aged, and also the children. So that is a familistic values associated with the housing and the type of, like, you see, quality of shelter we required. We also have individualistic type of, when you say individualistic type of need, so individualistic type of houses are basically you thinking about individual need first, considering individual need, then this familistic need will come. So first you consider that your fulfillment, your accomplishment in terms of a building should um, uh, be the first priority, and then concerning about other family member um, will come. So that kind of values are also associated with the housing. So this is also related to family. Initially, you see that we had a yojana, no, Indira Awas Yojana. So many people, if you go to rural areas, people will say that they haven't got the benefit of that yojana. So even if they have been there for last 40, 50 years, they are not yet benefited. Okay. But that Indira Awas Yojana, initially it was meant for SC, ST, but later it was made so inclusive that it covered even the widows, covered even the paramilitary forces who died in our kith and kin of paramilitary forces who died in action, or even that kith and kin of defense personnel. Okay. And including all the pores. So you actually see that that was made very inclusive, but still the select category of people are now getting the houses. In rural areas also, there are also people who actually do not need a house, have got a house. There are also certain situations they don't need a house, they have a proper facilities, but they got a house and that house are given in rent, but they are staying somewhere else. They build a house somewhere else, and they got a house under Indira Awas Yojana, and that house are also used for other purpose. But actually, people, those who need a house, are not getting a house. So this is also a kind of irony that we have faced most of the situation. And so you see that 20-point program is important to understand the effort of the government to eradicate the poverty. We also have that Rozgar Yojana schemes, and these programs are integrated. Integrated rural development program. Then training is another important need. With that, you see, Sarozgar Yojana. So initially we have Sarozgar Yojana, right? In Sarozgar Yojana, we get to find the need for welfare services. We also get to find the importance of training. We also get to find in Sarozgar Yojana about the importance of safe drinking water, and apart from it, the importance of housing. So all these needs are integrated. So in poverty, basically we talk about fulfillment of the physiological need, which is much more important, and then we move to the next sustainable development goal, and that is, you see, um, hunger. Okay, so we also have Food Security Act. Okay, I have already told you that during COVID time, there is also schemes which were made available for poor, and also provide free foods to poor during COVID pandemic. And there is also Poshan Mission, through which we actually try to give a, coverage in terms of nutrition or nutritional coverage among the poor. Uh, then we see another goal is health, right? Good health is another sustainable development goal, and quality education is the sustainable development goal 4. So when you talk about the good health, we talk about in importance of primary health center. So that was also included in 20-point program, so which were implemented in India in 1967. So you get to find the importance of primary health center. So increasing number of primary health center and making health accessible to the poor is very important. And we have Ayushman Bharat, that is basically to make, what is the goal of Ayushman Bharat? 5 lakhs health cover, which is basically given to the poor. And we have National Health Mission for, you see, for a quality health service to the poor. And we also try to meet the educational need. Then fourth sustainable development goal is quality education. Quality education, we have different schemes for quality education. So we actually need to discuss about problem related to, you see, illiteracy, problem related to health, because these are some of the developmental issues. Okay, so we can discuss and we can create a discourse around it. Okay, and then we can discuss about different plans, different, you see, programs of the government, and also different schemes which will help us to mitigate uh, the inequalities and also challenges related to health and education. Now you see, when you talk about the education, we have this Diksha platform. NEP is there. NEP is basically emphasizing upon the skill training, right? And we also have Diksha platform, that is basically emphasizing upon online learning. Uh, we There are also other schemes you need to read, and for that, so I want you to go through those schemes. And then next we also have this accessibility of ICT. Effective accessibility of ICT, that is also another goal which I'll not discuss today. That is another sustainable development goal. And government has taken various approaches to meet the need of the people. That is a basic need nowadays, and also a right. We also have another need, that is water. Sustainable development goals are actually equivalent to our needs. So another goal is that goal is related to water and sanitation, safe water and sanitation. This is sustainable development 6, goal 6. That is water and sanitation. So for that we have Namami Ganga program. So you can actually mention about some of the programs of present government, which and also, like, government, previous government, which have taken to meet those sustainable development goals. These are important. So, and these are also related to Millennium Development Goal and how far Millennium Development Goal have achieved. And we are yet to achieve this Sustainable Development Goal because we are running a deficit of 6 trillion. So, in terms of developing nations, developing countries, we are running a deficit of 6 trillion. So, we need actually a reform of those United Nations system so that we can meet that deficit of 6 trillion, and especially for those who are developing countries. So there is a fund transfer, no doubt. Okay, fund transfer from developed to developing countries. And we also want a kind of blended uh, that funding from private and public sectors. Huh. Yeah, funding from private and public sector for effective implementations of various schemes. Okay, we also have a green fund. We call it green fund, and this is also collaborations thinking about sustainability of various welfare services. Okay, and hence we see that that collective approach is very, very important. There are certain programs which are already there, programs related to, you see, the disaster resilience, that is a Sunday framework for disaster risk resilience. That is also a framework which has provided that financial assistance and build that capacity to make a country disaster resilience during post resilience period. And we also have Addis Ababa action, that is also another one action activities Addis Ababa, that is a financial framework, that is also one approach to provide fund. Okay, So, Paris Summit is another one. So, that is also a collaboration to mitigate the climate change related effect. So, these are different framework came up at different period of time to realize the sustainable development goal. But what is important is to understand some of the policies and the plans of the government to uh, meet the sustainable development goal. So I want you to read those policies so that we can have some understanding, at least two policies for meeting one goal. Two policies, or we talk about two programs or two schemes to meet that goal. Now you see for water and sanitations, we already have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Current government has already taken that initiative, Namami Ganga. We also have, you see, another one, Jal Jeevan Mission is also another one to provide the universality of services and universal accessibility of drinking water. Okay. Then we have economic growth, and this is basically economic growth and quality of work. So, growth and quality of work, that is another sustainable development goal, that is goal number 7. So, to meet that goal, we have different programs. We get to find, like Startup India is one program. Like we have also that Make in India program. You might say Skill India program. Okay, to develop that skill base, to emphasize upon innovation, and also we talk about those creating a manufacturing base in India. So these are some of the programs that government has taken to create that growth or increase the growth, increase economic growth in India. We also have clean energy, that is another sustainable developmental goal. Clean energy. Clean energy, for that we need accessibility in terms of electricity and all. Okay, to certain extent, we can say that electricity is accessible, but again, there is a problem related to that accessibility of it in rural India, and rural part of Assam also. So there are also 6 hours power cut in many areas we get to find. So in a day and during summer, so it's quite obvious, and it's become a perennial, part of their day-to-day life, that you get to find 6 hours of power cut in rural Assam. Okay, so in a day during summer. Okay, that is one problem. So you cannot even say that electricity is accessible. But we also have Saubhagya scheme, okay, through which electricity is made accessible, and also we have another, that lead distribution mission. It is through which try to make energy equitable for all and equitably accessible for all. Uh, then we have that urbanization related goal. Urbanization related goal is basically to develop smart cities. So here in India, to develop the cities across the world, and we have also taken smart city program to develop 100 smart cities. So this is related to urbanizations, and here in one class we will discuss about the problem and challenges of urbanization. Okay, so that is very important to understand. So these are some of the developmental issues actually when we talk about the problem related to electricity, problem related to urbanizations, poverty. Need to understand the definition of poverty. We have been talking about capability building. There are also development framework to understand how to reduce the poverty. Efficiency approach is there, welfare approach is there, and that capability approach is there to eradicate the poverty. So poverty happen to be the core developmental challenges. So all other goals are actually aligned to eradication of poverty. If you actually see, we talk about hunger and all. This is also aligned to poverty. safe drinking water, like Jal Jeevan Mission and whatever we're talking about, like water and sanitation aligned to poverty. Health quality education aligned to poverty, aligned to eradicate poverty, right? Then we talk about you see urbanization, which is also responsible for poverty in a way, because it has actually led to a lot of migrations. There are also internal migration, external migration, rural to urban, urban to rural migration we get to find. And that has created an imbalances. There are different issues related to urbanization we will be discussing upon, but that building cities cap and building cities and improve the cities is one of the sustainable development goal, and meet the challenges of urbanization is also another auxiliary goal along with this that sustainable development goal. And then we have this important goal. This is related to, you see, mm, peace, justice, and governance. Peace, justice, and that governance, and build and strengthening the existing institution. And for that, we have been talking about the strengthening the police mechanism. It's very important. So that is important. And then we also talk about governance, good governance here. So which is transparent, which is responsive, which show responsibility, which increase participation among the people, and also governance which is very effective and efficient, and dealing with the needs of the people, that is need oriented, that provide the services which are need based. So that kind of governance we want. Okay. So you actually see there are some ICT related intervention to improve the governance, and also policies related to strengthen the police mechanism. So, peace, justice, and governance. When we talk about peace, justice, governance, and institutions, we also find that there are some setbacks. Why there are setbacks? Because of the global crisis, regional crisis. So, we cannot achieve that peace, justice, and institution, a strong institution, and strong governance. Okay. And we are talking about ICT related intervention, but at the same time, that is also a question. Okay, so governance is also a part. We talk about, you see, earlier we focus on administrations. From administration, we have turned into governance. Hmm. So that the whole administration become close to us, close to people. Okay, so that was actually the very basic philosophy, and which also, you see, distribute the social justice. Not only distribute the social justice is very important nowadays. Okay, people do not know what is social justice. Justice, you cannot even say that justice, always say that it is also handmade of the strong, but how to achieve the justice in that case. So we talk about impartial distribution of resources. So for that, we also need to know about the difference between equity and equality in the society. So, and it's very difficult to establish equality in the society, which is highly like unequal by the very nature. So, hence, it is difficult to establish justice, but we can always focus on justice while designing the policies. Okay, so that it can meet the needs of maximum number of the people. Okay, so that policy can reduce the discrimination, so that it can create a blockage to the uh, uh, existing corrupt nexuses. So, so that a policy is aligned to the goal of egalitarianism in the society, because we think about, like, we always try to focus on right to equality and right to freedom, and try to meet the fundamental rights which are also enshrined in the constitution. So whenever we talk about any policies, so these are very important, these are development policies, and making policies aligned to our development needs is very, very important. Okay, Hence, we talk about reforming the existing institution is very, very important. When we talk about the reform, we talk about reform at its level, not only at one level. We need to talk about reform from the bottom level. And also, when we see that peace, justice, and when there is justice, there will be peace. Why there are conflicts? So many conflicts around. There are conflicts among the communities. There are conflicts among ethnicities. Right. So everybody is demanding right now. Just because system of distribution system, the benefit distribution system is inequitous, they are not able to distribute the benefits, distribute the goods equitably, and that's why conflict arises. There is an imbalances of power derived from the people. Here in a democracy we talk about people's power, but here we won't see any power which actually reside in people. We only go and give vote, our power is finished. So we claim that giving both is the power that we have, but actually not. This is a kind of participation that we make, and this is also a very lesser kind of participation we make in democracy. Okay, so in democracy we are supposed to play more. In democracy our role is the supreme, because we are the ruler. Actually we choose ruler for us and make a people, make a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. We are the one, so hence we have a bigger role here. So when we talk about peace, justice, and institution, these are aligned. We simply get to find the achieving peace, justice, and governance, achieving peace, justice, uh, mm, yeah, and good governance. But these are all aligned. So you can attain peace when you actually attain the justice. uh, we will discuss why there are so many conflicts. You can tell me why there are so many conflicts in society. You look at the demands of the communities, you will get to find the conflict. Why there is a conflict in the university? You see, you need to see everything at personal level, at a community level. Okay, so there are two ways of looking at things. One, you can look at things at personal level, at individual level. Okay, so because when you talk about community level, not necessarily each and every one of the community will be sufficed. Hence, when you look at inequality, you need to look at inequality at individual level as well as community level. Okay, then you relate your individual. First, you look at the inequalities at your level. If you have faced some problem from the system, because this is a liberal democracy that we are having, so it focused most on the individual good. But our society is communitarian. So living in a society which is highly community centric, and that is the beauty of India. Unlike US society, which is also highly individualistic, they are also talking about liberal benefits, that is individual goods, individual benefits, and that democracy in US is also one democracy which we have borrowed here in India. So we are replicating what is there in USA. So that the same liberal democracy we also replicate in India, and many other countries are replicating the same democracy, because US is promoting that liberal version of democracy across the world. US will not give you US will not encourage communism. US will not encourage totalitarian government. So US will promote liberal democracy. But our society is communitarian, highly communitarian. US society is individualistic. As we have pursued liberal democracy, so we also need to look into ourselves, and also our inner goals, our benefits, our needs, individual needs, and try to keep a symbiosis of our needs with the societal needs. It is important. Okay, and we will be discussing about conflict later on. That may be, yeah, one aspect to discuss, development and conflict, and that will come when we discuss about the environmental communication, which is a part of development communication. Okay. uh, then we also have another one is solidarity. Okay, achieving solidarity among various institutions, developing that solidarity, that is the last goal. Okay, and collective actions and alliance formation, through which you can achieve the sustainable development goal. So there are also alliances, like we have that international big cat alliances to protect the various cat species, and there are alliances set, that is a CDRI, that is also Center for Disaster Resilience Initiative, that is also another alliances. Like that way, there are different alliances which have been formed across the world to meet the sustainable development goal. So it is not like one country become a standalone and trying to meet the goals. So we need also support from other countries to meet the sustainable development goal. And these goals are to be replicated at local level. So when we talk about adopt adoption of those goals. So these are not supposed to be limited at central government or at state government. These are to be taken at local level. Okay, so this goal are also equitably making community participate, understanding the goal and participate to realize their need and fulfilling of the goal, then creating a monitoring mechanism, creating a plan of actions and monitoring mechanism, and evaluate how the goal are being realized. Because it is to be executed at ground level. Okay, hence this is very important. These goals are very important. Okay, um, I'll not continue more. So you go through these goals. There are also 2 3 goals I might have missed out. Okay, so go through all the sustainable development goals and some aligned programs, policies, schemes, and campaigns of the government. Not campaign, only schemes. You don't have to look into the campaign. Some campaign will also, like, give you a different idea. So some schemes which were already taken and which were being successful in addressing the needs of the people and achieving the goal. Okay, so I'm simply telling you that, so you will do on your own. Hmm. Suppose you can focus on Namami Ganga program, you can focus on Jal Jeevan program. Okay, so you identify those programs, and also it is important to identify the C4D elements that we will discuss, but you'll need to wait for it. Okay, so this is very important to identify the C4D element in any program. So first to identify the C4D element, first you need to read a scheme, read a policy. Okay, at least one policy you need to read. Any kind of policy, any kind of scheme, you read. When you will read, it will be easier for me to help you identify the C4D element in that program. Okay, you consider any scheme, any program, any policy of the government. Okay, so you can discuss about the objective first. Okay, these are the objectives of this program, and in that objective you find out where you can execute the C4D element, communication for development element. And when you talk about the communication for development, that is, and social change, that is related to consultation, that is related to building effective communication among other objectives, to meet other objectives. So building a kind of symbiosis and synthesis among all the objectives. Okay, so it is not only about consultations and having some, like, realizing the field capacity and scope in the field of those policy execution and all. is also very important. Okay, so, simply I'm telling you that today. So it's supposed to be a tutorial class, but yeah. Okay, now next week, let me tell you, television students will be performing their own work, and actually the thing is that I got a request even to make this puppetry workshop common for all, but the thing is that this is not possible at the 11th hour. So we could have designed it when we submit the proposal, okay? Because I remember last to last year I organized another so puppetry show. That was a successful show, very successful show. But in the last moment, um, um, going by the interest of a few of our senior faculty members, I had to bring C4D students into it. So C4D whole batch into it, and it was supposed to be of 17 students. Then again it become then students turned to 27 or 28, and again I need to ask for another 30,000, and that was very tedious on my part. Okay, so that is related to money only. So if I ask money, they anyhow they have reduced the requisite amount. So অকণমানটো কটাকুটা কৰে, কটাকুটা কৰি পেলাই কিবা এটা এমাউণ্ট দিছে. So that is one thing. So this is to be done by me only, again, as I have put up the application and all, nobody else will be doing, and I know the kind of hardship. And now in this scenario it is very difficult to even ask for money, and this is not about accommodating another team. Another 20 means 43 students we are thinking of. Then it will be very difficult. Okay, and so that is the scenario. Otherwise I'd love to include all the students. Okay, so you do your work, and there will be a full-fledged, that folk and community media program, and full-fledged television and multi-camera production for 1 week time. Okay, so perhaps you won't be able to work on the given assignment. So you're supposed to submit the second assignment also. Have you submitted the first assignment? Will you submit? Will you need that 10 marks and then again 10 marks? If you need that 20 marks, you submit. Okay, because deadline is already given, it is passed also. You ask for extended deadline.
Ma'am, I thought we have to submit both together now.
You want to submit?
No, ma'am, I thought we have to submit both
No.
together.
You could have submitted the first one, and the second one you have a separate deadline which is given, no? Perhaps in the November only. So in that case, you all only see how can I evaluate your assignment on time and finish evaluation and review. Then again, you cannot ask time after exam. You need to finish it before exam. Okay, so utilize this 2 days time. Okay, so you don't have to do something extraordinary. I don't want you to do something extraordinary. Okay, a slogan, a poster, an article, 2 minute jingle, uh, or an audio visual of 2 minutes, which can be very impactful. Possible, no? Even through mobile phone, you can record something, you can give voiceover and edit. It takes hardly 1 day. But it should be on the basis of the assessment. So that is the study. That it should not be something out of the blue that you have designed it or imaginary concept. No. Imagination should be there, but imagination should be aligned to the need and assessment that you have found, the report that you have developed. And hence, both these projects are aligned. You will intervene, you will understand the problem, you will identify their needs, and on that basis, you will develop a campaign. Okay, So we are not taking a full-fledged campaign. Any ad will go, 2 minutes ad. Give a slogan to it. Okay, that could be done. Right. Or if you want to do a theater on it, then also you can do, make a group of 10, 20, then also that will also be counted. Group of, this is a different kind of exercise, but it will also be counted. So make a group of 10, 20, develop a team on the problem, which will be assorted problems. So you'll be sorted out the problem. On assorted problem, you can develop a script, make a theater, and do it on even the National Press Day on 17. We are having National Press Day on 17. Okay, actually it is on 16th, 16 November, but we are having it on 17th. So if you give me assurance, or if we give you promise that okay, we will also make a street play, do a street play. So I can also tell sir that okay, it could be included in our city.